My mother told me I was born during a thunderstorm and was placed immediately into an incubation-type chamber due to complications during birth. So I never had that immediate human contact, that soothing, caressing snuggle that the mother offers her newly born child, what helps them adjust to the change and soothes their fear. Instead, I was immediately confined into a small space, separated from everyone else, alone and scared. I don't remember my birth for obvious reasons. However, as I reflect back upon my life, I noticed something. There were many incidents where I felt abandoned, unloved, unwanted, and alone. Throughout my life, I had a very difficult time trusting new people and connecting with them on a real personal level. I often wondered if I was a mistake, if I shouldn't be here. What is my purpose? Why am I really here? My mother was delighted when she discovered she was pregnant with me and went to Watton Shands to remove her wedding gown from layaway and replace it with a crib. My father, on the other hand, had already conceived his first child through a previous marriage and wasn't exactly as delighted about being a father again as my mother was about being a first-time mom. So lo and behold, my mother and father separated when I was about pre-kindergarten age, and I remember that day all too well. My mother decided to leave my father and take my brother and I both with her. We walked from one side of Lancaster City to the other side, taking with us only what we could carry, and started a new life. From that moment on, our mother was a single mom with 2 kids to support. She worked hard doing whatever work she could find that paid enough to support us. She worked in a chicken factory, a toy factory, and fast food places to support us. Things went on like that for years, until about the time I was in 3rd grade. Due to incidents that occurred at that time, CYS took my brother and I from our mother and gave custody of us to our father. As the years went on, we were bounced around a bit with other family members whenever my dad was in rehab. And due to other incidents occurring, we were eventually removed from our father's custody and placed into foster care for a while. We did eventually return back to our father's care, and at some point after that, my brother and I separated. He went to live with our mother, and I stayed with our father. My father was a strict, complicated man who very frequently reminded me just what he thought my abilities were, and pressed upon me how I shouldn't dream too big, but rather think realistically. Over the years, I have had friendships that have turned out to be anything but true friendships. 2 marriages that were anything but partnerships. Instead, both spouses abused and controlled me. I was bullied in school and at places of employment. I was abused mentally, physically, and sexually all throughout my life by family members, friends, spouses, and even strangers. I tried a couple of times to take my own life and failed. Instead, I ended up hospitalized in a mental health facility 3 times. What I learned to do to cope with my situation was to escape reality for a bit. I did this through my writing, reading, art, daydreaming, and I played a computer simulation game where I could live out my ideal life. I would fantasize about a world where people didn't have to struggle so much to survive. A place where people loved and helped one another with no questions asked. The kind of society where the people uplift one another instead of tearing each other down and fighting over scraps just to survive. I envisioned myself with special powers or capabilities to be able to help mankind achieve that goal. I would picture myself touching the earth and healing her, healing the people who are sick, and standing up to the people in power who hurt those who don't have the power. I did my best during my life to lead by example on that aspect. And yes, there were folks that took advantage of my kindness. But I never let it stop me from being who I am. I often stuck up for friends and relatives by confronting those who hurt them. Yet I never once did it for myself. I don't regret a single moment of my life, not even the bad times. Because those trials and tribulations have led me to where I am today. I can't say that I know for sure what or who has led me down this current path. What I can say is that I have finally found my purpose in life after searching for it for 40 years. Being a part of Put People First PA and the Poor People's Campaign and National Call for Moral Revival has literally saved my life. After the 2016 presidential election, I was introduced to Put People First PA right at a time in my life where I was about to give up for good and call it quits on life altogether. I didn't really know what to think of the group at first. They are very different than any other organization I have seen. The members are from all over the state of Pennsylvania, and yet when they were all together, you would never guess these folks live hours apart from one another. I attended their 5th annual membership assembly, October of 2017, and I was amazed and in disbelief that an enormous, large group of people all cared and loved one another as if they were family. Through the whole weekend, I became emotional at times, withdrew, because that kind of closeness with people was something I have never experienced. And yet it's exactly what I've been missing my entire life. In January of 2018, at the Put People First PA Winter Retreat, I was introduced to the Poor People's Campaign. And that weekend is when it all came together for me. And I felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. I remember the exact moment when everything became clear to me. The moment I came to the realization that my life will be forever changed. And that moment was when we watched a brief video clip of Martin Luther King Jr. casually joking around with friends, opening up gag gifts that they got him that referred to being arrested for doing nonviolent civil disobedience. He didn't give a historical speech in the clip. Instead, he was just being himself, and that spoke to me. My first reaction was sadness, because I realized I grew up learning only part of the true history of our nation. I continued my research, and through that came anger, because I learned he was assassinated simply because he was uniting poor and dispossessed people across differences to stand up to those in power. I was able to envision his dream myself, and I really want to see it become a reality. Since the Put People First PA Winter Retreat, I have put my whole heart into this movement, and I will continue to do so until I take my last breath. This movement is what keeps me going through the bad times. I no longer think seriously on ending my life. Instead now, when those thoughts come to me, I immediately tell myself, don't do it, because that means they win. When I say they, I'm referring to the true people in power that pull on the puppet strings of those that work hard to keep us all down. Now when I have moments of difficulty, I have people I can reach out to, people who truly care about me, who love me for who I am, and never tell me I'm dreaming too big. At Put People First PA, we are a family, and we work as a collective to help each other become strong leaders in our communities. And I'm honored to be a part of this fantastic grassroots organization. We will make fundamental change happen in Pennsylvania. I can already feel it and see it occurring. So if you feel alone in this world and are at a point of wanting to give up, don't. We are here for you. You are not really alone. I hope my story helps you come to that realization. For as you can see, my life started out with me being alone, and now I'm a part of an organization that has hundreds of members who are all connected. We can make this world a better place for all. It will just take us all uniting to take action to do so. Join us. Yeah!